didn't ask y'all to get quiet. Okay, how many of you know who Paul Simon is? 1:30 this morning, I got back from the concert I had been waiting 55 years to see. I'm not exaggerating. So if I'm a little disorganized, please forgive me, but it was a phenomenal concert. So we give our children events for Christmas. We're giving towels and things that they don't use to events. And so this year's event from us, from my wife to our children, the ones that live in the United States, I think most of you know I have a daughter who lives in Germany, so she didn't get to go. But this year's event was a Paul Simon concert. What's amazing is that Paul Simon, how old do you think Paul Simon is? 76. And I can tell you he was on stage for over 2.5 hours. Phenomenal program, incredible backup band. He ain't doing it again. This is his final concert. I think it might be 76 when he say it's your final concert. Final tour. You might believe that. Anyway, thank you all for being here today. Better crowd than I expected in the summer, but then we've had a lot of things that have gone on, so I'm sure you all are here for some of that information. I'm going to turn it over to the VPs and Lee Kaiser here in just a minute to give you the update. This is the update that we do after the trustees meeting that was held last week now. Thank you. Things are starting to blur. I've also just gotten off a plane about a week ago from visiting the water in Germany, so it's been a busy week for me. But we'll have several things that we're going to go over with you, important items, nothing. There's important things that happen, but nothing that people need to be concerned about at this point. So I want to put you all's mind at rest. Most of you are probably here because you're thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on? But we'll be covering all that here in just a little bit. We're going to go through it as we usually do, very methodically. It's mostly an update from the trustees meeting, and we'll have some information to share with you and kind of tell you where we are in the scope of things. So usually the way I do this is Sandy's going to start us off, and then Rio will follow, and then I'm going to ask Lee to come up and do the workforce development update. Lee, thank you for wearing a tie today. I did not. It's summer, so that's all right. Mine's in the car. If you all really want to see it, I'll go get it, but I don't plan on putting it on. It is summer. I'm not going to resort to wearing shorts, so you're welcome. So.
I left my tie at home too. Let's see. Okay. So I don't have any of my maintenance folks in here, but my first item is to let you know that Eric Street was promoted to general maintenance on May 15th, 2018. He began employment at Western Piedmont as a facility service aide in September of 2016, and prior to joining Western Piedmont, he worked 22 years as a crew leader for the town of Valdez. So as you see Eric around, congratulate him on this promotion. At the trustee meeting, we did have a lot to discuss. A couple of the items that came out of my area, which I won't go into detail about. You've seen some of these before, but some of the year-end stuff that we do. They looked at the budget allocations and transfers and reversions since the last meeting. They approved the 2018-2019 blanket travel authorization for president's travel outside the service area. And they approved the write-off of uncollectible accounts for financial statement purposes. We still try to collect on any student debts, but for a financial statement presentation, you don't want to kind of keep that hanging out there, so we write those off. So it's basically a paper transaction. Then approval to dispose of surplus property utilizing govdeals.com, which is a standard that we've been using now for over a year. And then approval of several various capital project items that they needed to approve off on before we send it to the system office, and then an update of facilities that we always give to them. The next item that we discussed was the budget for fiscal year 2019, and I started off with where we were with the county budget. The county commissioners have been in budget workshop meetings over the last couple months. Their recommendation is a budget for us for operations of $2,480,000, which is $14,450 less than what we requested for operation. but still a good number. We're excited that they're able to help us out with what they can, because we know that they are also facing many different budget constraints as well. We had 2 capital projects that we requested from the county this year. They did give us $100,000, or allotted us $100,000 for those 2 capital projects. That's $35,000 less than what we requested, but we will move forward with both projects, just may have to reduce the scope of work on those. The first one is a facility master plan for the campus to see where we are and what we need to do with our buildings as far as deferred maintenance, but also any new construction that we may want to look at where it's needed. Excuse me. The other one is, and much of you will be happy to hear this, is a much improved campus signage externally on the outside. I know we need signage on the inside in a lot of areas, but we definitely need updated signage outside. So those are the 2 projects that we hope to move forward with this year from our county appropriations. The next is just the state budget for fiscal year 2019. This is the short session, and you've been hearing about some of this over the last couple weeks. The House and Senate wanted to definitely make this a short session this year and get finished and get out of Raleigh by the end of June, and they're certainly on track to do that. They have approved the budget. It went to the governor, and he vetoed it, but the House and Senate had enough votes to override that. So the budget is prepared and moving forward. The system office is preparing to take the community college budget to the state board at their July meeting. They're definitely hoping to get that done. So we should have it official in August that we'll be able to move forward with Western Piedmont's budget. The major points for Western Piedmont is there is a salary increase of equivalent of 2%. I know everybody's happy about that. The other thing in the budget was short-term workforce training funds. The system has been asking for transparency between curriculum and continuing education FTE. It's basically changing that divisor, so one FTE is 512 versus the 688. Just to make that transparent for courses that are in Tier 1A, 1B, and Tier 2. A lot of these courses lead to industry standard credentials, and so that's one of the things they're looking at, is getting people out in the workforce quicker with some short-term training. The House and Senate did not give us all of that request, and what they did give us was some recurring and some non-recurring. So the system office had to come up with a different method of allocation of those funds. The way that they did that was they did make those tiers transparent, but they had to make Tier 3 different. They actually had to lower the FTE funding amount for that tier. So we're still working through how that's going to affect us, but there's a little change there. But we did get some overall additional funding from that short-term workforce training. Unfortunately, we have had a decline in budgeted FTE since last year at a net loss of 87 budgeted FTE. Given the information we know and the estimates that we have to date, we're expecting a net budget reduction of over $380,000 over the prior year. However, this year we have already had to get into our self-supporting money, which is our institutional funds, and so that amount is closer to over $483,000. We're diligently working to bring this deficit down to a manageable amount, and we feel certain that we will get there. Get back. So one of the things that we concluded from this too is that the funding formula hasn't changed to keep up with operational needs, and more importantly, the state has put up this management flexibility reduction on the community colleges, where as soon as you get your budget, you send money back automatically, or it's cut automatically. The flexibility part comes in is that you get to tell them where to cut that from. So over the last 10 years since this has started, we've had to send back or cut $7 million over the last 10 years. This year alone, it's going to be $530,000. So you can see how that management flex has definitely influenced our budgets here. So I'm going to get off the negative and go to the positives. Facility updates for us. A lot of things have been going on. We are in the process of getting the inclined platform lift. You may have noticed it out here. So that will help anyone in a wheelchair come from the bottom of Leviton, or come to the bottom stage of Leviton. And we hope that that will actually be completed before the end of June. I think it's almost there. They just have a couple little tweaks left to do. We're excited that we got this grant through E-Roads and Leona B. Carpenter Foundation to help pay for that. So thank you, Lisa, for helping to get that grant. As you know, the H building is one of our major projects going on this coming year. We've already started with moving the dental classroom and the dental lab over to Foothills Higher Ed. And that part of the project should be completed before the 1st of August so that we can get them in their classrooms for the fall semester. And then the rest of the renovations to H should begin somewhere about that same time in August. The funds to help with these renovations are through our Connect NC bonds that was passed in 2016. So we're excited to get those underway. Stuart McKee is working on the dental renovations, and Carmel Contractors is the general contractor for the H building. We're just still working with State Construction Office to get those contracts in place. It's just a picture of what those classrooms look like beforehand. Nice empty classroom, and now it's a mess. As Lee and his folks can probably tell you, when you walk through there, it's a little dusty, but they are looking good and they are on track, so we appreciate Stuart McKee's work in keeping that project on schedule. And again, with the H building, that will house our Burke Middle College and our STEAM Academy, and we're looking to really modernize that whole building and make it a showcase for our Burke Middle College. The cafe itself, we did put that out for bid, as many of you know, and the construction costs came in much higher than what we had budgeted. So we did some modifications and rebid that project. Stuart McKee came in low bid on that, and he will actually begin construction there probably in the 1st of August timeframe, kind of scheduling that with dental to give him time to get done with that before moving into this next project. And that's another one that is funded through the Connect NC bonds as well as Burke County. The door renovation for access control for our exterior doors, we did have a site visit for that. The request for proposal is out, and the bids should come in June 26th. So we'll see who our contractor is on that project. And again, this one is funded through Connect NC bonds and our county commissioners. So you can see how Burke County helps us with those capital projects. And we hope to get that one completed hopefully by the end of the fall semester, but it may be into the spring semester before all the doors are completed. Then the other area that we're looking at is Moore Hall renovations. There's several projects that need to happen in Moore Hall, which we're looking at for our Connect NC bonds as well. 3 floors under consideration here. We have on the top floor one of the rooms that we want to make into a seminar room to have more technology, trustee board meeting, but also where you can have those webinars and technology events that we have. If any of you worked with the ERP, you know some of those meetings, the technology was not that great, so we're looking at improving that room for those considerations. Also, the digital effects and simulation gaming is using the old Academic Success Center. We want to renovate that area to allow them to have classrooms there and be more effective in their instruction. And then there's 2 classrooms on the 2nd floor, which will be emptied when they get to move over to the H building, and those will be renovated for the basic law enforcement training program. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Well, mine's going to be short and sweet. At the board meeting last week, I began my report by informing the Board of Trustees of our new SGA president. His name is Isaiah Gordon, and we look forward to working with him this upcoming year. I then showed a short clip of the first annual construction rodeo that was held back in April. And I know several of you were there to see the happenings going on that day. That rodeo was a result of a partnership between Western Piedmont, Burke County Public Schools, and North Carolina Center for Engineering Technology. And we had construction students from each of the high schools came to FHEC, and we had different stations set up, and these students had an opportunity to showcase their skills at each of these stations. Our building construction technology program students built each of those stations, and Stoney Story played a vital role in the setup of this construction rodeo. The overall winner of the construction rodeo was an East Burke High School student, Braxton Lohman, who received a $500 Western Piedmont scholarship. It was a great event, and plans are already underway to make next year's even bigger, so I hope you'll hear much more about that in the near future. I then have informed the board of the success of the Burke County Public Schools job fair that was held at Drawn High School on May the 9th, I believe it was. This was just an amazing cooperation event between different faculty and staff here at Western Piedmont. Our booth was amazing. We had a very large booth, and we had so much interest in it. We received over 150 student contacts, either filling out cards or going to a computer and putting in their name, requesting more information. And so now Student Services is working to contact each of those students. This was a great team effort. We had technology there, we had faculty staff there. It was just amazing, and there was so much enthusiasm and energy, and I think everybody had a good time that was there, and I hope we can bottle that enthusiasm and use it elsewhere. I did thank the board for their participation in our graduation events. We're very fortunate here at Western Piedmont that our Board of Trustees participate in so many of our events. And, of course, you see them at our main graduation, but they're also at pinning ceremonies, they're at the BLET graduation. There were several of them at the Burke Middle College graduation. And so we're very proud of our board members for supporting us. At the board meeting, I presented a live projects policy. When our SAC-COC substantive change team came back earlier in the year, they suggested that we do a live projects policy, and then we created a live projects procedure for our students. Now, live projects are when our students go out and work on things with other, not here at Western Piedmont. And this can be anything from cosmetology students working on live patrons, all the way to our construction students doing construction projects away from campus, to any project that students work on. And so we're working on those procedures now. We have the one for cosmetology, and we'll be working on additional procedures to go along. Well, of course, the board approved this policy, and we're now moving forward. As you know, Leslie McKesson is retiring, and we're glad she's with us today. She couldn't stay away. She loves us. She's retiring next week, and we wish her the best in her retirement. We're going to miss her. But due to her retirement, we're having to do some realignment within the academic and student success division of the college. And so what we're looking at right now, and this is not a surprise to anybody in her division, because we've already met and talked with them, we're kind of spreading out her division among our other divisions. Some of it will go to Anne Marie, some will go to Michael, and now some of it may go to Lee Kaiser. We're looking at giving Lee some curriculum programs as well. And so that's going to be spreading out. With that means realignment of departments. So there will be some realignment there. We're working on department heads. We don't have all this stuff worked out yet. We met yesterday. We're meeting again Friday. This is coming, okay? Our plan is to have all this line ironed out before the start in August. So you'll be hearing more about that. We had 2 department heads to leave, one through retirement, and one has taken another position. So we're going to have to do some new alignment anyway, and then with other changes here on the college, that is going to help us to do that. Some important dates for you to remember. Some of you will need to pay more attention to these dates than others. It's hard to believe we're talking about it, but we're already starting to work on the startup for fall term. It's going to be here before you know it, because it's already midterm of the summer term. And that's crazy, isn't it? But it is. It's going by fast. Convocation will be on Thursday, August the 9th. It's on a Thursday this year, Thursday, August the 9th, and I think it will start about 8:30. The faculty staff picnic will be on Friday, August the 10th, and it'll be 11:30. More information will be coming later about that. So one thing we are going to do different this year, we're going to do a day of caring on that Friday, August the 10th. Now, I know a lot of times in the past, days of caring have been held, you could go to stuff off campus and do other kinds of volunteer efforts. Well, we're going to concentrate this particular one here on this main campus. There's things that need to be done here. And so we thought, well, we're going to have a picnic. Why not let's have the morning be a day of caring? And so you'll get more information about that later, but go ahead and start making your plans. There's a lot to do around here. There's some painting, there's windows that need to be washed, there's landscaping areas that need to be cleaned out, so there's a lot of things that we can be doing here. And you'll hear more information. Regular registration now goes through August the 3rd. Last chance registration is Monday, August the 13th. August the 13th. But if you're talking to students, it's better for them to come in by August the 3rd than it is to wait till August the 13th. So encourage students to come in. I know you've all got your little cards. If you haven't already, if you've given them out and you need more, we can get you some more. Okay, so we want you to work on that. One thing we are going to do different this time, the adjunct faculty workshop will not be the day everybody comes back. It's going to be on Tuesday, August the 14th, which I think is much better, because it's crazy trying to do that on the day everybody comes back. And fall classes will begin on Monday, August the 20th, 2 months from today. We start back with fall. So it's going by fast, isn't it? Well, thank you, and I appreciate all the work everybody's doing. It's kind of quiet around here this summer, but we're hoping that everybody's out there recruiting students. Thanks.
Tim, can you pull that slide up? Is he? Or do I do it? You want me to pull that slide up, or can I do it? There. Hi, I'm Lee Kaiser. and the reason I'm wearing a tie, that's the big here partially, but also there's an event tonight. Bob Benner, who is David Benner's father, is celebrating his 90th birthday. Bob came to the campus, I think, in 1970, 71, and worked here until 1995 or so. I came on board in 93 as a curriculum instructor, had the opportunity to work with him for a couple of years, and then he retired, and then David took his place. So collectively, I'm sorry if I'm walking around, I am an instructor at heart, so I tend to be a little more active. Between Bob and David represents almost a half a century of a Benner being at this college, providing both physical education opportunities, but also wilderness experience opportunities, canoeing, backpacking, rock climbing, biking, just a host of things. And we're known for that. Over the years, if you go out and about and you go to other recreational areas and talk to people about where did you learn to canoe, where did you learn to hike, what guidebooks do you use, a Benner's name inevitably would come up. So we're special. So tonight at Rail Mountain Water Works in town, we're going to have a small celebration of Bob, and he is still very active. He's working on trails. He's spending a lot of time, most recently at the McDowell House off of St. Mary's, and just I guess it reflects from my perspective this institution and its values and where we've come and where we are, and hopefully with us, this newer generation, that we can continue that and be that flagship for this county. Now, having said that, I'm here to talk about workforce development, but I had to share that part because the Benners have meant so much to me personally. So I put some numbers up on the board here, and it's kind of a number cloud, and I want you to look at them, and in a minute, I'm going to try to prompt you to see what you think those numbers mean, because I think it has importance in terms of who we are as an institution and where we're going relative to workforce development. And when we say workforce development, we on the continuing education side, the non-credit side, we kind of have maybe commandeered that term, But I'll recognize what Dr. Burnett said when he was here, when that first term kind of emerged. Back in, I guess it was 07, 08, right when the recession was kicking in, there was this idea that we need to do workforce development to get people back to work. So workforce development kind of became another term for non-credit programming. Things on our side like phlebotomy, nurse aid, firefighter, some of the industry training that we do, things of that nature. But as Dr. Burnett said, everything we do is workforce development. If it's an AAS degree, you're preparing an individual for a career, a professional career. If it's an AA or an AS, certainly the same. Now, they may not get their terminal degree from us, they're going to move on, but certainly they're being prepared for the workforce to have gain a skill so they can be successful and make our community better. Basic skills, the foundational skills folks need to be successful is absolutely workforce development. And then what Eddie Majempsy, and as I go through here, I'm going to call out my folks in here because sometimes we get the feeling we're forgotten about because we're somewhere else. So Eddie is there. So Eddie, that runs our Small Business Center, counsels a lot of individuals who start and grow small businesses. And they actually are the ones that employ most of the people in our county, in our state, and our country. Rick first, where's Rick? So I'm coming in. Rick manages our customized training programs, and we work in manufacturing. In fact, manufacturing is a big part of what we do. One of those numbers up there on that screen behind me pertains to manufacturing. And Rick works to develop upskills of existing companies and their employees as things change, as things get more complicated, and as things evolve. Todd Frizzell, over in the corner, is our fire rescue guy, and year-round, this week, today, the last day of spring, you know, it's not summer yet. It's 96 degrees outside. So what Rhea said, you know, we're halfway through the summer, and that is interesting because tomorrow is the first day of summer. It's the solstice, and so we got 3 more months of this stuff. But Todd has folks out there today burning propane and working in an environment to actually be able to extinguish fires. Hundreds of folks, dozens of agencies. Then Steve Warren, which is over here, this is a very active time for him. Most of Steve's year, from August to May, is involved in law enforcement training, where he has curriculum students here from August to December, graduates a group, brings in a new group in January, graduates them in May, and then things get busy. Steve, how many classes you got going on this month?
Well, we've been very successful. We graduated the recruit class on May 18th, and so it's been 32 days, and we've trained approximately 600 officers in in-service training, done 41 classes, and we're not done. Next week, we do a 911 telecommunicator certification class. You can't work at the 911 center, and that will go all next week and into the next week. July and August, we got an instructor school schedule. It's 80 hours, and it's already full capacity, and we've got a waiting list. So we've had a really good summer, but boy, it's been a lot of work and problem.
And Robin Nutt, who works very well with us as well. Collectively, what Steve does, what Todd does, what Rick does, what Eddie does, and other folks, inevitably I will leave out, we engage and we work with over 6,000 people in a year, most of which are returning professionals in some capacity that we're working with to enhance their skills, put them in a better position where they can increase their earning power and help companies and agencies grow. So that's a big part of what we do. But again, we kind of have captured that name, but everything we do here, everything you do is involved, and you know, we are that asset for this county and in this community. Just a couple more things. Dr. Helmick said I had 5 minutes, and I'm sorry, but it takes me 5 minutes just to get going. Because there's so much I want to share. Through Workforce Continuing Education, we have been approved at the state level to provide programming at the high schools. So this fall, as a result of about a year's worth of work with a lot of folks in this room and other folks that aren't here today, we're going to implement a furniture training program for high school students, primarily aimed at the Latino community, which has developed a very strong interest in working in the furniture manufacturing industry. Excuse me. We're also approved to run fire academies and as well as EMT Basic. We're approved at all 5 high schools. Where we actually offer the programming and at what extent is yet to be determined, but the broader idea there is that, as Sandy mentioned when she talked about these tiers and this parity in funding between Con Ed, what we call non-credit, and curriculum, the idea is that many of the programs that we deliver that result in a credential that's important to employers, we're being asked more and more to do, and I'll reference these numbers up on the wall here. You'll see that one of the populations we're going to have to reach out to is going to be these young people. Curriculum CCP has done a fantastic job, but we feel there's a segment of the population that we can better connect with, so we're excited about that piece. The last piece before we talk to the numbers is I want to commend Joy and her staff. And here today is Patsy and Wes, and Judy up in the corner. Did I miss anybody? Sandy showed you the listing of the amount of funding that we get to run the institution. Basic Skills serves in excess of a couple thousand people per year at various levels, from English as a second language all the way up through high school equivalency, both in the community and in the prison. Much of that money comes from the federal government, and this past year, due to both state changes and federal changes, we had to actually compete for that money. It wasn't just based on FTE anymore. We had to make a case. If we're given the funding, what would we do with it and how would we serve our community? Joy and her staff spent weeks writing a proposal. It was in excess of 100 pages. It had significant program outcomes. It had significant student outcomes, and in terms of being able to achieve movement among grades, to find a job, or ideally to enter post-secondary education. The best model we want to have is, and we call ourselves on the other side of the creek. I don't know if you've heard that term, but Hunting Creek separates the main campus from the K building. And there's a culvert down there if you take the dirt road, and sometimes we jokingly say we're on this side of the creek, they're on that side of the creek. And we want to get our students on the other side of the creek. We want to get those basic skill students into a post-secondary learning environment, because we know that the jobs that are emerging here in Burke County, and it will continue to grow, is going to require something beyond just high school credentials. We had a successful proposal. 58 colleges submitted. Not all received funding. I think 40 or so did. We were one. We don't know how much money we're going to get yet, but I do want to recognize Joy and her staff and the great job they did. And think about it from your perspective, for those of you that are involved in programming and in a curriculum. Think about if you were in a position to where in May, as you wrap up a year, you had to make a case to actually get the funding you need to implement your program for the following year and show very quantitative and intangible outcomes, and talk about how you're going to accomplish that. That's where, because it's federally funded rather than most of the curriculum program is state funded, not all, but most of it, that's the direction the federal government's taken. And again, I just want to commend Joy in the excellent work she did and support we got overall from the college. So that's what we're doing in our side of workforce development. We also engage with the curriculum side. Jonathan Crumpler's in here. Jonathan's got a camp this week. Some of you may have seen some 11th and 12 and 13-year-olds. Is that about right? Upstairs in a simulation and gaming camp. Megan Roberts is working next week to do a mushroom class where we're bringing in an internationally renowned person who understands how to select, cultivate, and cook really artisan level mushrooms for nice restaurants. And that's Monday through Friday of next week. That class is going to make, the person's coming into North Carolina will be staying here, and many of our students are in fact out of the state that are coming here for that class. So we do a lot of that stuff as well. And before I get to the numbers, one last thing, we do a lot of fun personal enrichment classes that are short-term. I want to plug those. Dr. Helmick has taught a class in woodworking and CNC. Other folks in here as well. Remember, you get one free class per semester. And again, I ask you to take advantage of it. It may be FTE generating, it may not. But we have a lot to offer here. And I think the more we can even serve ourselves, the better off we'll be and we'll better serve. Said all that, I'm really running over time. So the numbers, hazard a guess, they're grouped in 3 areas, just to kind of set the stage for what we're going to have to do to help workforce and help our economy grow. What do you think the first 2 numbers are on the left? Population. There, it's population of Burke County. First number, the 90,000 plus, is population in 2010. The second number, 89,293, is population in Burke County in 2017. More or less. That's a very precise number. There's probably some inaccuracy in there, but that's okay. What's the takeaway there? Our population over the last 8 years has declined slightly. Now, within that decline, there's been a mix in terms of ethnic groups and different types of people coming in and out in different areas. But notice that our population has declined slightly or more or less stayed the same. In the grand scheme of things, it's staying pretty flat. We'd like to see it growing upwards, and we think with the School of Science and Math coming in and with these other industries coming in, that number will change over the next 5 years, especially if we address some other things like housing and affordability. So the middle numbers, 36,878. Average what? Salary. It's very close. That is a good guess. Brandon says it's the median income for folks working in Burke County. It's also the number of people this year that have a job in Burke County. That's the size of our workforce. Not all of them are working in Burke County. So 89,000 people live here. 36,000 of them are actually of working age and are working. So kind of look at that number. We have 4% unemployment. That's where that number comes from. And that equates to about 150 people that are officially unemployed. Think about that. There are not a lot of people right now that are not in a position to find a job. Now, there may be many that are underemployed, but in terms of actually looking at the broader statistics, we have a very low unemployment rate that translates into a small number. 30% is the number that is the portion of our economy in Burke County that's involved in manufacturing. And you hear that a lot with the mechatronics building and the stuff at the north end of the campus. Manufacturing is making stuff. Sometimes you're making parts. Sometimes some companies are taking individual parts that have been made somewhere else and assembling them into something else and moving on. That's a large percentage relative to many counties. If you go to Wake, you go to Mecklenburg, you go to Guilford, you're not going to see 30% of your workforce in manufacturing and making stuff. Making stuff helps our tax base considerably. Making stuff pays well, much more than the average service job, so that's good. So we are in our area in Burke County, but also surrounding counties, that's a big part of what we do. Of the 36,878 people that work in Burke County, 6,500 of them leave this county to go work somewhere else net. So what that means is any given day, people get up, put on their clothes, get their kids to school, and then they drive outside of this county to go to work. In Caldwell, in Catawba, in McDowell, in Rutherford perhaps, maybe even as far down as Mecklenburg or Gaston. That's a population that we're going to have to draw from. The last number, greater than 1,000. That's the number of jobs that are going to be, new jobs that are going to be created in the next 12 months, give or take. We have new companies coming in. We've got existing companies expanding. Broughton Hospital just got approved in the state budget to hire 165 new people. Now, keep in mind, Broughton's workforce, like many other companies, those are new jobs, and they're not talking about replacing jobs as people move on or they retire or they just get out of the workforce for whatever reason. Those are out there too. These are brand new jobs. So the landscape, population more or less over the county staying about the same. We've got 6,500 people leaving the county every day. We've got 1,000 new jobs we have to fill. And the last two numbers are important. What do you think they are? Because where are we going to find those people? We've got 1,000 jobs, and we've only got 150 people officially that are looking for work. We've got 6,500 we're going to steal because they're going outside the county. We're going to keep them here. But where else are we going to mine them?
Western Piedmont.
Western Piedmont, Burke Middle College, CCP. Any kid who graduates from any of the 5 high schools, 6 high schools, BMC, Halliburton, and the 4 traditional high schools, they come here. We want to be positioned 2 to 3 years out to address that 1,000. Those numbers, the 13,619 and the 12,984, those are the DPI numbers I pulled off their website this morning. 13,619 is, if I get my years right, let me check my cheat notes here. That is the census of number of students in K through 12 in Burke County in 2010. So in 2010, we had 13,619. In 2014, that's the last one they had, it's 12,984. So the number of students is declining slowly. So that's also a challenge. And our challenge will be to combine and get that larger group of students who graduate from high school. How many people graduate from Burke High School, the 5 high schools, last month, this month? Anybody has their guess? 200, 2,000, 1,000? What do you think? Your number? 1,500. It's about 1,000. More or less between 900 to 1,100. So 1,000 individuals graduate from Burke County schools each year with a high school diploma. Many go off to universities, some come to us. Many of them, as we learn, we don't know what they're doing. They kind of disappear off the map, and that's one of the ways that we're going to address the 1,000. That's why I put that number up there big and bold. And I think that's our mission moving forward, is collectively find out where we're going to get those students, just as Steve said. We've got the programs, we have you, we've got your enthusiasm, we've got your expertise, we've got your passion. You know what you need to do to get these people to a place where they can improve their life. We've got to get them on campus. And I think in terms of workforce development, that's the piece that probably over the next 3 to 5 years that in my mind, I think I'm going to spend a lot of effort and energy on and try to develop, is to capture those young people. I'd love it if we can bring people from outside the state to move into Burke County, but the reality is that we're going to have to grow these kids and put them in these jobs. These jobs are evolving, they're complex, they need training that we can deliver, and I think we're in the right place to do it. So that's my 22 minutes, and I'm sorry. Next time he'll probably check my presentation. but think about that, and I do look forward to working with you. And I am coming full circle. I started here in '93 as a curriculum instructor. My heart was in teaching. I taught both transfer and technical programs, and moved over into the non-credit side, and just delighted the opportunity to come back and be able to work on the curriculum side as well if that has happened. So thank you all. Hope you have the remainder of the spring, which is today, and I hope you have a wonderful summer. Thanks.
Great presentation by everyone. We know when we tell Lee 5 minutes that he uses a sundial to time his so being an outdoors kind of guy, 5 minutes, 20 minutes when you're using a sundial. So good job, Lee, and good job for all of you. Thank you. I'm going to give you the remainder of the report on the trustees meeting, but it's interesting what you have heard and how this is all coming together. And what I want to make sure that we leave here today is not being despondent or depressed, that we've got real opportunities ahead of us. And you can see from the numbers that are up there that we do have opportunities ahead. And part of that is coming about because we have these great relationships that we're doing in the county, in the community, and the community is growing. We're adding jobs. I will tell you that my personal philosophy is that all education is workforce development. So whether you are going off to university to major in philosophy and getting that first job in that philosophy company out there, of which there are so many, that's workforce education. Most people want to apply the skills that they learn in teaching or learn in school at a job, and that's basically what we're here to do. We happen to think the shortest route to workforce development in a job that will actually pay you to live is through the community college, and a lot of people agree with this. We are going to see things change, so you get used to it, that things are not going to be the same as they have been. We are seeing a shift to more short-term training. A lot of it will come out of the workforce development area. You'll see a lot more blending here of what we used to call traditionally the workforce development, continuing education, and the curriculum side of the house, because that's where industry is telling us they want to see things. No more is it the degree that they're looking for a skill set. Sometimes that's a course, sometimes that's a certificate, sometimes it's a degree. But what we will have to do is react, and we will have to change to make sure that that happens. And we're all going to be a part of that. So, and what you have to do is be flexible. We can't do things the way that we used to do it back when this institution was started. A few updates from the trustee meeting. We did accept the class visitation report that came out of continuing education. Just an FYI for you. Just one of those things that shows up on the packet. If you ever see the agenda, then just so that you are aware. Mike Spath was announced that he is the new president of the Faculty Staff Council and will assume his duties in August. Mike Spath is also the creator of the little cards. Mike, are you here? I didn't see you. I have my cards. Do you all have your cards? This is the little thing that I've got, and there are my cards right there. I didn't give any out while I was in Germany. I really didn't see the point. But Helga was kind of interested in going here, if we would pay for her transportation over. Legislative update, it's very brief. Senate Bill 420, which essentially gives the State Board of Community Colleges more power over the local board, is I think it's about to be passed, that it has moved to committee. They have done a few changes in that bill, but basically it does give the State Board of Community Colleges more power to come in and replace a board should that need arise. I will tell you that they are not at all worried about Western Piedmont. They are worried about some of the other institutions in the state. We could also call this the Martin Community College bill, that as a result of what went on at Martin Community College, the state board is hitting the panic button and passing legislation that we will all be impacted by at some point in the future. But anyway, it is what it is. They also passed the holiday leave bill, and we will be reacting to that. We told you that last time when I so dramatically messed up what the calendar was going to be. So we'll be giving you what those leave days look like for us. It basically limits us to the number of paid leave days to 12. And so we now are compliant with what state employees are. I will remind you all, you are not state employees, even though you get some of the benefits of being a state employee, but that will bring us in line with what the state employees are doing. They also redefined or defined what a sound physical management practice is, and that's part of Senate Bill 420, even though it's not really part of it. As the State Board of Community Colleges passed what sound physical management means at the institutional level. So just so you're aware. I did talk to the trustees a little bit about enrollment. It is up slightly at the moment for the summer. That's a good thing, and we hope that trend continues. We are running a little ahead on our registration numbers for the fall, but don't slack off. The key, as I have told you all repeatedly, is enrollment here, and we'll talk about a little bit more about enrollment in the future. We did hand out the Chamber annual report and the Get Real report. You guys did a great job. Lisa, thank you very much. Very well received by the trustees. The big item that was on the agenda was that we did, as a result of the budget issues, you've heard some of them referred to by Sandy, where we are with the budget this year. We know where the budget is going to land. We don't have the actual final numbers from this system office, but we know where the budget is going to land. We know that we're going to get hit with another flexible spending cut, and we know that we got hit at the end of the year with an $80,000 reversion. So we know all that's going to happen. So we did ask the trustees to declare financial exigency. Financial exigency basically allows us to do a reduction in force at the institutional level. And as a result of that, you will have already noticed we have lost one position, and that is the Vice President for External Affairs and Workforce Development. So that was Atticus's position. That position was eliminated, and as a result, Atticus is on administrative leave for the remainder of the 30 days notice that we gave him for that. We didn't like to do it. We certainly don't like to do that. It means that it shifts a lot of responsibilities over to other people. Quite frankly, a lot of it shifts to me, and we'll talk about the reorganization a little bit. You've heard some of it, but I'll talk to you a little bit more, and we don't have that finished yet. I also don't want you to be worried, but I do want you to be concerned. So as we are going forward, we need everybody on board. We need everybody working really hard, but you don't need to be looking over your shoulder wondering if I'm next. We do, financial exigency exists for a year, and what it does is it gives us the opportunity to do the reduction in force should that be necessary. Right now, we know the one position went away, high-profile position, and it does take care of a lot of our budget issues. And then we had 5 positions going into that we had already held on. But folks, I will tell you, as I've said before, and I'm quoting another president who said this, you don't get out of a financial mess by cutting the budget. You get out by doing sound things that will grow the institution. We're still not in the growth mode that I'm comfortable with. So it is going to take everybody pulling together those cards that I joked about people in Germany not wanting her card, but it does, that is, I think it's a good example of what's going on. I have been very pleased to see everyone coming together to work on the issues that we have. We've made some, I think, some pretty decent strides in things like marketing, thanks to the work of Susan and Lisa here, pulling a group together to talk about what we can do to market. We're changing the focus. We're going to continue to change the focus. We are looking for ideas from you all. You will be how we get out of this. It's great to see things like Captain Warren over here doing all the work that he does to bring in FTE through the programs that he has. I've asked you all to look at taking classes that generate FTE preferably, but a class in any way, shape, or form actually works for us. So it may not help the bottom line on the budget, but just being out there and being interested. So we'll be looking at more classes that we can offer for people to take and help us earn FTE. Enroll in a class is a lot of fun, or teach a class. That's even, well, maybe not more fun, but it's fun. You are aware that our budgeted FTE is down, and that we are into our self-supporting funds, $200,000 or so this year. Next year, we're projecting into being into self-supporting funds, and we're trying to get to the point where we're not. The least amount of that we can use, that's our growth money. It's like spending your savings account to buy your groceries every week. At some point, that money runs out, and we can't continue to do that. County funds are not part of this, and so I want you to be aware that when we're talking about funds here, it's state funds. That's what 90%, give or take, of our budget is, state budget is absorbed in personnel. And so this does not include the county funds. So when you see us looking at doing renovations to the campus, and those renovations are all designed to do a couple of things. One, to make us more competitive. So if we redesign and refurbish a facility for our students to come and have lunch, that is making the campus more attractive to students. It also helps the bottom line because we eventually get money from what is realized there. But the funds for that, the funds for new door locks, and the funds to renovate the H building to make sure that Burt Middle College finally has a decent home with nice offices and that the students want to be here, we have the potential to grow that. So we're doing all of that. It's all strategically planned to make sure that we position ourselves to be a more competitive institution. But the funds those are not the same funds that we use to pay for salaries. Those funds come from county funds, the grant funds that are the bond funds that we got, NC Connect bonds, and then they also come from grants that we have gotten. So just so you're aware, don't get them confused. I would hate for anybody to go out here and say, well, I don't understand why we're losing positions at the same time that we're doing all this other renovation stuff. One has nothing to do with the other. So please don't get them confused, and don't let other people get them confused. We are going to be putting our money for the future in growth areas at this institution, so we're trying to target those. And it's not as easy as you might think. You might think you would simply look at it and say, well, there's a growth area, let's just plug some more money in there. We're limited by the number of students that we can have in certain programs. Some programs, even though they are high volume programs and high FTE generators, still don't pay for themselves. So we have to watch all of that. And as administrators, that's what keeps us up at night. That's what keeps me and Sandy meeting on a regular basis to make sure that we're taking care of that. But the bottom line is, I don't want you all to go out of here worried. I want you to go out concerned. And being concerned, I think, is being aware of the problem. Being worried is where you're sitting there with wondering what you can do to help. And what you can do to help, well, being worried is non-productive, but being concerned, I think, is productive. So what's it going to look like? The President's office, I told you we would talk a little bit about reorganization, and there will be more. We are not finished with this. This has only occurred in the last few weeks. The new areas that are the areas that report to me, some of which are new, some of which are not. Institutional research has always reported to me since I've been back at this institution. That will continue. Grants will continue to report to me. The foundation is now a direct report to me. Stacy is now reporting directly to me and working with her on the foundation. Marketing, David Biddix is now reporting directly to me. So marketing comes directly to the President's office. And then workforce development, which is Lee Kaiser's area, also reports directly to me. So that's the way the President's office looks. If that looks like a lot of reports, it is, but quite frankly, when I was at Rockingham, I had more direct reports. So it's not an unusual model that we're headed to. There will be fewer deans. Unfortunately, we're not able to continue to fund those. We do need to look at those areas where we will be having the potential for growth. Susan has just shared with me the numbers about where we stack up as far as distance learning across the state. We are below the midpoint, so we're at about 36, I think you said. So we're 36th in the number of distance learning classes that we offer. And that's probably not enough. That some of our higher ed partners, for example, have quit using our facilities at the higher ed building because they have gone to all distance learning. So Blease McRae, a couple of years ago, went to strictly having an office here, and they recruit students, and everything is taught via distance learning. Gardner-Webb just announced to us that they want an office, but they don't need any building or any rooms to do the face-to-face learning. They've gone strictly to distance learning. ASU still has a presence over there, as does Montreat, but Montreat is typically focused on the master's degree level. So this is a trend in education to go with distance learning. I will tell you, you've heard some of my stories about my son, who's at age 37, finally discovered that college might benefit him, and he's back in school. And don't you love to be able to tell your children, we told you so, 15 years ago. And so he's finally acknowledging what we told him 15 years ago. But I asked him what he was taking this summer, and he gave me this whole list of classes. And I said, well, so are any of them on the campus? He said, no, they're all distance. He said, I get on a computer and do them every night or during the day. And fortunately, he has gotten a job. Yay. Actual employment, 40 hours a week. That's a real switch for him, let me tell you. He's a great guy, but, regular employment has not been his thing. But, and it's a good job. And it comes about, quite frankly, directly because he went to a community college and got a certificate, and they hired him because of the fact that he got a certificate and did well. So community college does pay. Something else I've been telling him for 15 years. But anyway, all of those classes are distance learning, so we've got an opportunity to grow in the distance learning area. Again, don't be worried, be concerned. And I think going forward we can do that. Do want to also recognize Leslie McKesson, who will be retiring. Some of you all won't see Leslie. I'll see her. She lives next door. I just wave at her every now and then. You can call me Michael. You don't have to call me Dr. Helmick when you wave at me across the... I always think, should I have called her Dr. McKesson when I said hello, Leslie? The mail person put your mail in my box again, Dr. McKesson. So anyway, we'll work it out, Leslie. So, but Okay. We share deer, that we have deer that graze in our yards indiscriminately. The other thing that I want to do, and I'm going to close this out here, and that is our core values. You all continue to astound me with the things that you do, and we have April, May, and actually several in May to report to you all. We are still taking core values. We've sent these out via email, so I'm going to do a briefer version of this in the interest of time. I do actually use a timer, not a sundial. So, and by the way, does Bob Benner even own a tie? Yeah. Just small aside, Bob Benner's a great guy. He is credited with saving my life. Short version of a long story. I used to be a pretty serious whitewater canoeist, and Nolichucky Gorge is famous for eating boats, and I had a 16-foot open boat with airbags in it, and this was in my youth when I was a little more reckless than I am now and didn't have pain that went on for 3 days when I did things like that. But we were getting ready to go on the Nolichucky Gorge, and we had gotten to the top of it, and no one remembered to check the stream flow. And for those of you that don't know, the higher the stream flow, the more dangerous some rivers become, and a gorge is particularly dangerous. And they set limits, and the limit on that river was at about, I'm going to say 2,000 cubic feet per minute, and that would be the upper limit for people who are in the expert category. And I wouldn't put us in the expert category. We're pretty good, definitely pretty cocky, but we were pretty good. And so we got up there, and it was running at 4,000 cubic feet per minute, which is twice the stream flow that we should have been. We were in the process of putting our boat on, and we got out Bob Benner's book, which, by the way, was printed at Western Piedmont Community College, my first experience with this college, and looked it up, and we said, maybe we ought to choose a different river. And so we probably would have, I don't know that we would have died, but we would have probably lost a few boats along the way. But I always tell Bob that he saved my life, so remind him of that when you see him. But I do want to talk about some of our core values, and I'm probably going to get them mixed up on months, but the core value of quality, we hold ourselves accountable for nurturing and developing the potential of every employee and student through assessment of student learning outcomes, institutional effectiveness, and continuous improvement. It is in your strategic plan that we have, so I hope you all have that committed to heart. Anne Marie McNeely, Anne Marie, was recognized for having taken on the formidable task of leading the new Division of Arts and Sciences. Thank you, Anne Marie, for doing that. She's done an outstanding job. Not an easy job to do. It's a very tough job. So thank you, Anne Marie. We did recognize her in that area, and you got the email that had all that in it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. In the division of in the area of service, we take pride in serving the needs of students and community by actively participating in service learning, civic engagement, and collaboration with our community partners. A lot of you could get this award, but or could get this designation. But Star Brown, we highlighted Star Brown. Did I see Star in here? She's not here. Okay. She, along with Danette Steelman Bridges and, Star did the highlighting of that. The two people who received the award the recognition was Danette Steelman Bridges and Tanya Coates for students in the accounting and interpreter education programs, working together on the VITA program on filling out income tax returns and doing deaf interpreting for that. So it's a great collaboration that those folks have put together. Also, Tanya turned in Vicki Holder's name for her impact on students and for a variety of things. There's a whole list of things. Vicki, I saw you in here earlier. Where are you? There you are. Thank you, Vicki. Appreciate what you've done and what you are doing with our students. I will tell you that I'm very focused on making sure that we serve the needs of our students with disabilities because they don't get such a good deal out there in the community. And so when they come here, they need to be comfortable. And part of what we do is making sure that students are comfortable here. So thank you, Vicki, for your efforts in helping our students with disabilities and those students who need help. Part of what she's been doing, you may not realize, she's been helping us reformat the website to make sure that we are compliant with what the federal government says, but that's part of it. But part of it is students need to be able to access what we're doing here, and that's important. And then under diversity, we value global education and acknowledge the perspective and contributions of all people. We had a couple of folks there. Deanna Keller shared an example of collaboration, again, it was Jessica Howells, her biology 111 class, the Danette Steelman Bridges group, working collaboratively together to make sure that the deaf students who were in that program were getting what they needed. They were processing strawberry DNA. We're hoping they're not making weird hybrid strawberries. And then as an exit, Dr. Leslie McKess and Terry Doyle and their colleagues did a fantastic job for the Black History Month, and that was recognized on our campus. I was able to attend 2 of those events. I learned things about Burke County that never occurred to me before, but they were fascinating to learn about the African American community that was out near what is now Lake James, and how those folks had to come into town to get supplies at a time when the Depression was in full force. And then the person who came and did the Breach of Peace, Mike Wiley, who came. That was fascinating. I wanted to be the guy that got chosen to drive the bus, but I didn't. And if you were there, you know what I'm talking about, but it was kind of neat. But he did a great job of making people aware of what's going on. Thank you all very much for what you do. I appreciate you coming out. I know it's almost summer, so we have one more day, spring left. Again, don't worry, but be concerned. And as we move forward, we've got real opportunities about to hit. You see the numbers up there. I could not have said that better. In fact, I could not have said it at all as well as Lee did. You did a great job of illustrating that. I've heard a lot of those numbers in our workforce development groups that meet in this county. There is huge, huge potential. 1,000 jobs coming, and I will tell you that those 1,000 jobs will breed other jobs. So we have a huge opportunity, but we also have a great big responsibility. We're going to have to do it, unfortunately, with fewer people because of the budget, but I think we can all pull together and we can do it if we all work together. And it is going to take all of us working together. I do have an open door policy. If you want to come by and discuss with me anything, that's going on in the campus that you may have concerns about, I will be glad to listen. But tell us how we're doing stuff. We do read every one of those. We're reading a couple now, and we're processing what we're going to do about them. And so we'll be glad to do that. If you come to my office, I will show you pictures of my grandchildren and my trip to Germany to visit the 2 that are over there, and the großen Spielplatz that we just built over the weekend. It's big playground in German. And so thank you again for what you do. I appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of the summer. Leslie, congratulations on retirement. We're going to miss you. And thank you all. You all are dismissed.